What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Musings podcast studio. I am joined today by Mr. Ed Lilley. How you doing today, Ed?
What's going on, man? How
You know,
you
we've been
doing?
through, the audience doesn't know, we've been through a lot together over the last,
Yeah, we
50 minutes while
oh
we work
man,
through some technical
major technical
hijinks.
difficulties. Oh my goodness gracious.
But we are
But we got
here.
it together though. We got it together. We
Got
figured
it
it out as
together.
a team.
We got a good equilibrium going. The file uploads look like they're doing well. We're ready to rock and roll. You were
We're ready to
jamming
rock
out.
and roll.
You were
We're
jamming
oh
out to
man,
that
that intro
intro
music
music.
had me bopping.
You know, I used to ask the guests to dance on the outro and show some dance moves, and until my wife told me it was too cringe. She's like, "Don't ask people to dance at the."
No.
I
I mean,
shut that. I
if it
shut
comes
that
out of
down.
them,
Yeah, I
if it
shut
comes
that
out of them
down.
naturally,
But
like do that.
you know, I can't contain you if you feeling it in your soul and you want to get down. I cannot contain.
I'll get down, man. I'll get down. I'm a horrible dancer, but I got the rhythm though, you know?
There you go. There you go. Well, listen, man. I was thinking about kind of how we became connected. So I had Jeff Nelson on here, author
Yeah.
of Ninja Punk's Blank Off, and he had your artwork behind him, and I had asked him, I was like, who did that art, man? That's awesome. And then I started following you on IG. I reached out, and here we are.
What's funny is that I wasn't following you on X, but it sent your post out and it had that you had him on there. And I was like, hey, I know
Oh,
that guy.
there you
Right.
go.
So synchronicity, man, like it was
Telling
meant
you.
to be. Here we are.
Yeah. And I just started, not that long ago posting on X, and I started the X. God, it's hard to call it X. The Twitter, aka X. I started that, for the podcasts on there. I
I
find
mean,
like people are way more interactive on there, especially in the art community. I don't know if it's because the stuff gets seen more or what, but there's a lot more interactivity on there, and in a lot of cool like groups, like artists, amateur artists supporting each other,
yeah.
and all sorts of neat stuff. So that's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I think because Instagram has become very promotional based.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not just that, but it's very promotional based. And it's like, look at my picture, you know? Whereas for everything that's on X and Twitter and like all the back and forth that people do, you will find those groups of like, hey, follow this guy. You know, like
Yeah.
there are some people on there. I found some cool people on there. I just started doing it maybe like in the past year, very loosely too. So we'll take it more seriously and see what happens.
Yeah, and the other cool thing that maybe some artists that are listening don't know, when you upload your artwork on X, it actually they don't compress and degrade the file as much, so you can actually put more high res art on there, and people can actually see your work in all its glory, right? So that's
Yeah.
another side benefit for us creative people. We can actually show our work without it being compressed and cropped weirdly, all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff.
I noticed that sick drawing table you have behind you, dude.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. It's like that old fashioned stained wood
Yeah.
looking type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got one. I don't know if you can see it. I got one over
Oh,
here
that's
too.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only problem with this one is I'm 6'5" and I'm all legs. Like I have a short torso and super long legs, and my legs would not fit under it. So with it just sitting on the ground, so it's like sitting on top of like several like plastic flower pots
Oh, no.
that are
Yeah.
like about it's being boosted up about 10 inches off the ground just so my legs fit under it.
What's funny
It-
is I have the opposite problem. I'm like 5'6", and this thing is too big for me, so I got to prop myself up higher about 10 inches just to get the leverage going.
We just transposed our numbers. You're 5'6", I'm 6'5". You know, we all have our struggles, right?
You know, you got to do what you got to do. It's what makes us unique.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of being unique, man, your art style is really cool. I can see I feel like I see the anime influence in it. It's very vibrant and dynamic. Where did your love of art and those influences start to creep in? Are you one of these guys that has been drawing since they were little and just eating this stuff up since day one, pretty much?
Pretty much, yeah. Like I remember around 8 or 9 years old, that's when I was like really doing it. You know, my mom was an artist and someone gave her sketch pads and colored pencils and she gave them to me. I went to town, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
and this was right when Pokemon was out and Dragon Ball Z was coming out and Digimon was out. And people sleep on Digimon, but that's my jam forever.
Nice.
And I'm just now being bombarded with the coolest stuff ever. And I'm just drawing it. And then I get drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing. And they're like, pretty much everyone was like, and like we all knew that this was what I was going to do because I just
Yeah.
kept doing it and doing. And now, you know, Sega Dreamcast, Nintendo 64, PlayStation 2, Jack and Daxter, like it's all being pummeled into my brain. And I'm an only kid, so I'm just consuming gifts and
Hey,
presents and all that stuff, you know.
fellow only child
Yes,
power.
sir.
There you
The
go.
uniqueness, baby, the uniqueness.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I started young, and the best part too was like I was being gifted kind of like high profile like tools like pen and ink and really high grade pens at like before
Nice.
10, you know? So I'm kind of learning technical things without understanding that I'm learning technical things and like drawing and tracing from cards and comics big time. So I'm subconsciously learning shapes, I'm subconsciously learning style and, you know, picking up a lot of wrong things, but also picking up a lot of cool things too.
Yeah.
So during like what, you know, 2000 anime, Japanese stuff is coming over along with me reading comics and all that. So it's always been a merge. It's always been a hybrid.
That's kind of the double-edged sword with, when you're first working on your art and you're learning and you want to look at comics or anime and trace and all of that, but you haven't developed the sense of the underlying structure and the underlying forms and everything. Like you said, it could bring up some bad habits too, because
Yeah.
like you're looking a lot of times at, somebody mastering the basics so much that they're able to start kind of manipulating and breaking things and warping things and all of that, right?
Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane.
Yeah, yeah. We could name a million of them, right? Todd McFarlane,
Yeah.
Jack Kirby did that, but the difference with Todd and Jack Kirby was, if you go back and look at Jack Kirby's work when he was like 15, 16 years old, he's doing like photorealistic renderings and proper anatomy, proper faces and all of that. And then
Yeah.
he, abstracted and exaggerated his style and kind of just broke everything in a way that was beyond, it was cool beyond
Comprehension.
belief. Yeah, it was beyond
Yeah.
comprehension, right?
It's like he broke all the rules and then found the way to streamline that to make a monthly comic.
Yeah.
And he was able to dump pure imagination, ridiculousness into these weird oblong shapes that made sense. You knew
Yep.
what was going on, but it was so obscure, but so, again, correct at the same time. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Same thing with
So,
Todd McFarlane. You
yeah,
know,
Todd did the same
he would
thing.
stretch the anatomy so much, but it made sense. And he'd put all this detail in it that you'd never see before. Like I remember when he put the detail in the Spider-Man costume, like the wrinkles and stuff. I was like, this is
Yeah.
the greatest, this is the
Oh
best
yeah.
ever.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It resonated with us, and we were like, "Man, this is cool." Like we weren't thinking about like, oh man, his delt is connecting in the wrong place on his arm, and oh, somebody
Yeah,
can't
she'll
bend their leg
bicep.
like that.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I
it's
think a
funny, like
lot of
later
it.
on, I had to like unlearn a lot of stuff. Like I didn't realize I was cruising on talent for a long time. It didn't have the proper structure and the proper skill set. So once I started to like plug and play proper anatomy and proper perspective and all that stuff, man, I just skyrocketed.
Now, did you come to that realization kind of on your own, or did you have people like looking at your work and giving you, input and saying, hey, you need to work on your fundamentals a little bit more, or this and that? Like, because I know when people like, if they show their work to artists at cons or whatever, that's a common thing. Like, hey, this is really cool, but you got to work on your basic forms and everything else.
Yeah. When I was younger, I was told I should work on the fundamentals, and I did not listen. I said, I want to draw Dragon Ball Z, and that's the end of it. But I still had a natural talent that made things look good, right? So had to come to the conclusion on my own. Once I started taking more, like I was taking online classes, and I was like, oh, there's a lot I'm missing. Like I can
Yeah,
eye something pretty good and learn from it, but that's a whole lot different than someone saying this is the right way and this is the wrong way, you know?
yeah,
And once I was using my eye to pick that stuff up now, that's when I was like, oh, I get it, you know? And then apply that to the cool thing, right? So
exactly.
now
Yeah.
I'm stretching, like I'm bending and warping because I know how to break and bend the the fundamentals to make my own style. And not even my own style. I feel like I have multiple styles, you know?
Yeah, that's the weird thing when it comes to style, right? Like it's, people will look at something you do and oh, I'm picking up this for you. I'm like, I've never looked at that person before, but that's cool. Now I'm a fan of theirs. Like I look at their stuff and yeah, style is such a weird thing. It evolves too. Like it's one of those where like even if you look at somebody like Jim Lee or Todd,
Mhm.
like their style has remained similar, but their stuff has definitely evolved and changed over the years.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with Jim, I mean, he did very, I think, almost cartoony shapes at the beginning, you know? Like he was still figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
But now his stuff is way more anatomical, you know? I want to
Yeah.
see him work on one picture for like 6 months
That'd be
just to see what
insane.
that
Yeah.
would look, because
Yeah.
everything he does, you have to get out fast.
See him do what Mark Silvestri did with that Batman book. Because Silvestri had been working on that for like, gosh, I want to say I heard on a podcast that he was showing pages of that like back in like 2011,
Wow.
2010, like
Wow.
showing, hey, I'm working on this Batman thing. Yeah.
Wow.
He was showing people way back then.
That gives me hope though,
Yeah.
that you can put a lot of time into something and know it'll be worthwhile. 'Cause I think also to being an artist is we're so hard on ourselves. I know I'm
Yeah.
so hard on it to the point where almost you can't even move forward because there's too
It's
much pressure.
bad. It's
Yeah.
bad.
Man, you know what
And
I'm saying?
yeah, dude, I've asked artists how to get over that. Like I've been like, how would you have trouble, you get partway through something and then you scrap it and start over. They're like, I'm still trying to learn how to do that. Like, because I have so many unfinished sketches and unfinished things that I've started and, got halfway through, started over,
Mhm.
thrown it away. Like, yeah, it's the struggle is real, man. I don't know how I guess if you make it like if you broke in and you were on deadlines, that would probably be something that forced you into just like, okay, it's done. I got to move on because I got to meet this
Yeah.
deadline. So that probably
I
helps with that.
I do storyboard like commercial stuff, and I have to draw a picture in an hour, you know? So I have to apply everything I know and all the fundamentals and sketch out something like immediately. So I only have an hour to like 3 days to like
Yeah,
just say here and that. In a way is refreshing, you know?
for sure.
But at the same time, when it comes to like my own personal stuff, oh man, I can beat myself up big time. And the funny thing is, before I met Jeff, this is which was last year, I was like coming out of that. I was like down on art. I was like, I don't feel
Right.
like doing art. I realized art became for me like a dark tower in the middle of the desert where it was just here's art and then here's nothing. I was like, oh, I have no balance in my life. It's just art. And I felt like I had nothing to show for it. Which
Yeah.
wasn't true, but the ego and all that stuff.
It can
So
feel that
but I
way.
knew I
Yeah.
needed yeah, but I knew I needed balance though. I was way off balance with all the other aspects in my life. So I was like, man, I gotta find a way to like find the fun again. Like I was depressed, like it was bad, but necessary though. And I said, I'm just gonna take this year to like put out my stuff, find my voice again in comics and my style and blah 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 blah. And here comes along Jeff. He's like, "You want to draw ninjas, bro?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to draw ninjas." Like that's what I
Yeah.
miss. And that picture was the first one I did where it was like that's just full what I want to do. Like I just want to draw
Nice.
cool stuff forever. And
Yeah.
it has legs. That poster has legs. It came out
It
really good.
does. How did you end up meeting Jeff? Was that online? Was he following your
He
work
reached
or did
out.
you? Nice.
She reached out on Instagram, and it was pretty much that. You want to draw ninjas? I got some character designs in the poster. Like, what's the quote? And we've been hanging out ever since. And hopefully, somewhere down the road, maybe later this year, uh, we can do some more ninja stuff. That's
Yeah,
the
he,
hope.
he he told me about some ideas he's got, so that would be
Yeah,
cool to see something come to fruition with you involved for sure.
yeah. We're planning some things out. We'll see what happens. I right
Yeah.
now I'm getting ready to launch a Kickstarter for my first comic, The Desert King, which
Oh,
looks
very cool.
totally opposite from that picture when I say multiple styles. And that was like my first one. And when I first put it out before COVID, I I didn't have the right mindset to put it out, right? It was that, oh, what am I doing? Da, da, da. And I call it, I threw acid on myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. As the artist, where you're like, oh, I'm good and all that nonsense, right? And then I went on to work on other projects to varying degrees of success. Was still doing storyboard stuff, and then everything kind of fell through with these projects. And I'm like, man, and that's when I got depressed. I was like, what's the point of this? So I said, Ed, you owe it to yourself to do what's best for you. You owe it to yourself to put this project out the right way or whatever way you feel is correct,
Yeah.
and keep going. And last year I put out every single page as like a narration. You could go read the whole thing on my Instagram. But in doing that, people were like, hardcovers, hardcovers,
Nice.
hardcovers. And I was like, I don't have any more. They're like, oh, you should do crowdfunding. You should do crowd. So when multiple people, like more than 3 people tell you to do crowdfunding, usually that's a sign, or tell you to do anything. Usually that's a sign to
Yeah.
like look into that. So like the plan is to just do it and do it not with that hesitation spirit, but do it boldly and see what happens. And if you fail, you fail, and that's it.
Exactly. Yeah, you adjust and you move forward, right?
And you adjust and you move forward. And
Do you have a projected timeline on when you're wanting to get that Kickstarter up and rolling? Or I
probably
said
looking,
Kickstarter, but I don't know what crowdfunding you're planning on using, right?
I want to use Kickstarter because it scares the crap out of me because
Okay.
it's all or nothing, right? But
Yeah.
I figured I want to face that dragon, and we'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to at least early to midsummer, because
Okay.
one of the things I want to do is make a new poster or a new cover, because the last cover I did, it was cool. It came out really good. It's beautiful. but I was so burnt out when I did it, and it wasn't everything I thought it could be. And now a couple years later, I think I'm much better, and so I want to do some Drew Struzan level art on this thing, and
Nice.
and just 'cause that's what I want to do, you know. So that'll probably take a couple weeks, if not a month, in and of itself, to just to do that.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
You're all good, man.
it's
You
that
came
cold,
on
man. It's that
here.
thing
You
going
came
around.
on here. We had the technical difficulties. You're fighting for your life with the cold.
Or
We're
goodness,
persevering.
woo, overcoming, man. We're overcoming, bro.
Now, when we were talking a little bit earlier in the podcast, you mentioned, you started to get to use those traditional tools as a young kid and like quality, like traditional materials and things. The conversation comes up on here quite often about where digital tools stand, their place in creating artwork. And we always talk on here about how digital's awesome as a tool, but it's just that it is a tool. It doesn't magically create the artwork for you. Like there's so many, digital drawing was getting hated on like way before it was cool to hate on the AI art and stuff, right? Like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
at least with the digital drawing, you're still actually drawing. You're not just putting a word in
Still
there
gotta
and
draw.
telling it what to
Still gotta
create,
draw.
right? So for
Yeah,
you, did you start to implement some digital into your workflow over the years?
yeah. I went to school and they had these big Cintiqs, and I was like, "Oh, I can draw with ink." Like that's
Yeah.
how I thought about it. Like I can draw with like a hard pen, but then erase it. So I was excited by that. But I still use like the process of doing pencils and then doing inks, or doing pencils and doing painting in the same way.
Yeah.
Like I'll make sure, like even with that picture that I did with Jeff, like I still made sure I did proper pencils before I did inks.
Yeah.
Like I can still post just the pencils. You'd be like, oh, that looks like I need it to look like pencil.
Yeah.
I see some artists who they're able to just digitally like just do like a rough sketch and then do this beautiful painting on top. I
Yeah.
can't, it doesn't connect in my brain to
Yeah. I
do that.
can't I can't
I need to do
process
a
that.
rough sketch.
Yeah, same. I can't
I need
process that
to
way.
I need to do a rough sketch. I need to know exactly what I'm doing. And I think some people, because of those fundamentals, they're able to kind of breeze along. So I do think digital art or digital whatever helps with that, where you're able to kind of like streamline your fundamentals to get to your idea faster.
Yeah.
But you still gotta know what you're doing. You
Now,
still gotta know what
are you to a place where you are concerned at all about having at least part of your workflow be traditional so you have some physical, pieces to sell as far as original art or anything like that?
yes. Yeah.
'Cause I
So
think that's
that's
like that's the only like inherent like
yeah.
major drawback to 100% digital workflow is like people aren't going to buy a print in the same way as they are an original page or an original cover, right? And for a lot of
Yeah.
artists, in case the audience doesn't know, like in more and more people are becoming aware because people are speaking out. Like Marvel's base page rate is like 160 a page. It's like
If that.
if you can do like 10 books in a year, you're maybe making 32 grand a year with no medical benefits, no nothing. And so, a lot of artists make their supplemental income from being able to sell their originals. So I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the big like inherent flaw with 100% digital workflow that always comes up, right?
Yeah. No, that's a super big flaw. And I still had hope in NFTs. I felt like that there was a lot of hope there for digital artists to make a significant amount of money, which I
Yeah.
do think that art is worth. that much money. You know, uh, I
Yeah,
think what happened was
they're still getting an original. It's just it can the
it's in a
person's
different.
brain process
Yeah,
that gonna give them the same feeling as like
yeah,
I'm looking at the double page spread, the pencils by Ryan Otley of them flying through the Viltrumite planet, destroying it. I'm looking at
yeah,
that's one of one. It's on my
yeah.
wall over here. Like, is that gonna be the same feeling of me open that up on my iPad and like I own the one of one of this page?
Yeah, no,
I
no,
don't
it's
know.
true. It's true. It's true. And I think what happened was is you had the marketing bros like ruin it for a lot of people and like ruin
Yeah.
the credibility of it. Mhm. And two, they were like, oh, well, it's just a JPEG and you could just make a copy of it. And I kind of view it as, well, you can just buy a copy of the Mona Lisa, but it's not the
Yeah.
Mona Lisa, you know?
Exactly.
And so even if you are a collector and you like collecting things and it you put the value into it, it might have that same effect. You know,
True. Yeah,
it
and
might have that same effect.
ultimately with any of this stuff, it's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it, right? Like
Yeah.
we've all seen the banana duct tape to the canvas selling for however many, millions.
And I'm like, what am I doing? I think I'm doing something wrong. I think I'm approaching this way too complexly. Like, what's going on here? So
I think those are one-offs, man. When that goes on, like I've heard all sorts of things about those being like parts of money laundering schemes and all sorts of weird crap. So, I'm not gonna
I,
think. I defy thinking that there's some individual out there that really wanted to spend that money on a banana peel stuck to the painting or whatever. It makes me lose faith in humanity that somebody has that much extra money that they're going out. You know what I really want? Yeah, get it, put it
it's like,
up.
can I get caught in the one? I got paid. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it's
no,
interesting.
art is weird. Art is weird, but I love it. But no, it brings up a good point, and I've thought about that, about the validity of digital art. And that's why for this next batch, or for my first comic, the Desert King, I did all of my own pencils and then I colored it in on Photoshop
Nice.
because the pencil on paper is still the greatest feeling in the world.
It
And for
is.
this next one, I'm going back to that kind of style where I'm going to do the cover, very complex cover on paper, and I'll sell that as a tier.
Oh, perfect.
But it's hard to sell the original
Oh yeah.
pictures that I did. Ah, it's so I like the idea of it makes me sweat,
Hey,
because I
look at
spent so much time on it.
look at McFarlane, man. He still has all the Spawn pages. He says he's not going to sell the pages from those original, you know. He said he wants to pass it down to his family and stuff, but
Mhm.
that's like,
They're worth
you know,
something. They're
yeah.
definitely worth something for sure.
Yeah.
Those
If he
originals
if he put
were.
any of those, yeah.
I have the original omnibus somewhere here. It's like my Bible, pretty much.
Yeah. You talking the newsprint paper like really thick omnibus, or you talking the vault edition gigantic ones that he sold with the scans of the originals?
I think it's the newsprint one. I know it's like
Yeah.
the first 10 issues, I think.
Hold on.
I got it somewhere.
I'm looking at the shelf. Hold on.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna find it too. I'll be right back.
I think folks that are watching, I think this is what he's talking about. We'll see. We'll see what he brings back. But this thing, and I spent way too much on it because it's all the black and white artwork starting from issue 1 on. This is why I encourage everybody to look at the okay, let me see which one you've got, because I spent
All right, so
way too much money.
I got
Okay, you
volume
got volume
3.
3. That's Capullo stuff, right?
Uh, yeah, yeah.
Some of
This is
it.
one Capullo, and oh, look at this! It's glorious. Yeah, this is
Hold it
Capullo and
up.
him.
Hold it up. This is why I encourage everybody to watch the video version. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah,
Now, see, when I learned about this one, this compendium, this is out of print, and this is very hard to get. And I don't even want to admit how much money I spent on eBay to get it, but
it's okay.
it's sought after because it's all in black and white, right? So it's like, yeah,
Look at
killer,
that. I'm gonna have to
killer
ask for you to take pictures and send them.
for sure. Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
So
Yeah.
that's yeah, when I found out that existed, and I was, you know, I was way too late to the party because then it's going for those premiums and you can't get it. It's out of print, and I had to have it though. It's like pouring over that original art, that black
Yeah,
and
it's so
white.
good.
There's just
Oh,
something to
my next
the black and white pages, right?
oh, don't get me started. I love black and white art more than color. Not that I don't love color, but there's something about black and white art where it's the purest form, if you
Yeah,
ask me. You know, it
yeah,
might not
I
even be the
agree.
most complete form, but it's the purest form. And I just love it. So my next book that I'm gonna do, not the Desert King, it's something new. That'll be in black and white. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and if you get a windfall of like a ton of extra money, then you got to go buy those Spawn Vault editions because that's the
Yeah.
full 11 by 17, and there's two of them, and it's all Todd's original scans of those original pages.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you to send a couple pictures over if you don't mind.
I will, man. They're the top of this
Now, and are
bookshelf
those
over
his ink
here.
too,
Yeah.
or are those when Capullo took over?
No, no, that's all Todd. It's all the original issues that Todd did. Yeah. So you can
Wow.
see all the gritty, the nitty gritty, all the little tick marks and weird, how the detail, as we call it, the McFarlane detail
Yeah.
in all its
So
glory.
wow, that's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I need that. I need that in my life big time. Him, Brett Booth, Capullo, Jim Lee, Steve Williams,
Yeah.
those guys, man. I can eat that stuff up forever.
People sleep on Brett Booth.
Wow. I
I
don't
don't get it.
understand.
I've been a fan
This
of his
guy,
back since. Remember when he did Backlash for Image and all this early Image stuff? He did like the Kindred. He did all that. Like his work has been like the quality of his work has been awesome since like day one.
for a long time, and
Yeah,
like even looking at his more recent stuff, like his what do you call it? Commission stuff. I'm like, this is
yeah.
why is no one hiring this guy? What are we doing here?
And
I
the
think he's
other
too good.
thing,
He might be too
the
good.
other thing is, I hear he's like super chill, like super nice. He like goes out of his way to help. Like artists will like repost or tag him in something, and if he has time, he does drawovers and like helps people out, just like out of the goodness of his heart, I guess. Like even at that elite level, he's out here,
Yeah,
trying to pass it along and help people. So I want to get him on here. I'm
that'd be
manifesting
great.
it. Yeah,
Oh, I'm
I've
manifesting
heard a
it for
lot
you,
of good
bro.
things. If I can get him on here, that would be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be sick. I mean, I've been like him and Capullo recently as I'm trying to like come back to myself in this comic book thing. When I don't want to think about anything or draw anything, I'll bring up him or a Capullo and like I'll start inking over them just to
Yeah,
practice, just to get the arm flow going. So maybe I might post some of that stuff
for sure. Yeah,
'cause I'm
Capullo
trying
can
to.
be a uh, daunting pencils to tackle because he leaves stuff so open for interpretation. Like it's really cool. Like he leaves a lot of room for the inkers to go in there and show their own style. But at the same time, I look at it and I'm like, man, like if you
There's a
were
lot of freedom.
if you were being paid to ink his stuff and it's like I gotta figure all this out and it's Greg
Yeah.
Capullo, and I gotta bring my A game and make sure
Yeah.
this stuff it looks. That's a lot of pressure, man.
There's a lot of pressure, man. And two, what he does so well is that there's so much texture in his shadows, right?
Yeah,
Where even if he's doing scratchy line work, if he doesn't put an X there to say this is black, like in my mind will be like, I have to add the texture of this
yeah,
thing, like of the shadows or of the shapes of it to capture that detail.
yeah,
And before you know it, you just have a blob of ink. And you're like, what am I
yeah.
doing? You know?
Yeah, he's one of these pencilers that he goes in there most of the time. He fills in and he renders the shadow all the way through. You know, he uses those awesome. I have some of them over here. They're like the the Mitsubishi Uni
Cool.
pencils.
Cool.
Those are like the ones that he loves to use, and he goes in there. It looks like a lot of times he's kind of using like a softer lead too, and he's
It
just
looks like a
going
proper.
through.
I think he uses like I don't think he uses a mechanical pencil, but you can tell where his line work is like sharp, where I know
Yeah,
this is what's going on. But when he hits those shade and a lot of that kind of like scratchy detail, you're like, how am I supposed to render this? You know, because you could
yeah.
go either way with it. You can add as just a solid black in there, and I've seen I have I have the mini little Court of the Owls here, the little
Oh, beautiful. Yeah,
compact tonic. And so I'm comparing the images here with the pencils, and I'm like, oh, people just put black on that. Yeah.
yeah. Do you have
But
the pencil like the unwrapped ones and all of that? The quarter owls,
I don't.
the one that's all the pencils.
I don't. But what's cool is I have a library card, and on the library card, I can go online to like an online library, and it's there.
Oh,
So I can bring it
sweet.
up and look at it on like my big screen.
That should
Cool,
be
man.
that should be a pro tip for people out there, man. The libraries is in modern times now. They actually got like a e-reader where you can go on there and look at stuff. That's amazing.
Listen, ever since everything shut down with COVID, the library card has been my number one go-to for audiobooks, for comics, for whatever, because it's just on there for free, right?
Yeah,
So I'm just
that's awesome.
absorbing stuff and just absorbing for years now, just absorbing stuff.
I
Like
remember when
reading
I was
Frank Miller's run on Daredevil,
oh
like all
yeah.
from the library.
I was gonna say, I remember when I was a kid, when my mom would take me to the library, I was always hoping and looking for like drawing books, like how to draw books and stuff. And like they didn't always have a lot of stuff, but every now and again you would come across like a one of these like Bern Hogarth books or something, and you're
Mhm.
like, oh man, Bern Hogarth, I'm gonna check this one out. Yeah, it was so
Yeah,
cool. Now you can just
I
get
was
on your
that.
computer and look at all of them.
Now you could just go on Pinterest and get
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
Get
true.
everything you've ever wanted in life. It's
Another
too much.
another pro tip, right?
One pro tip, yeah.
And
Like I'll start off the day
Pinterest,
with Pinterest.
that can
Absorb.
be a time suck. It's where you're just like, oh, look at that. Oh, I'll save that. That's my leg anatomy pin board. Oh, here's my head. Here's my light and shadow pin board. Here's my
You got a pin for every single passing thought.
and every
Yeah,
single artist that I
every
love, I've
single
got
artist,
them.
every single style. But I use it though, especially like I have this book here. This is my second Bible, the
Oh yeah,
George
Bridgman.
Brigham. I mean, you could tell it's beat up. Pages are falling out of it, but George Brigham, man,
As it should
he's
be though. Got to use it.
you got to use it. So on Pinterest, you can find all his stuff, all how to break down anatomy. I don't think anyone. I still can't find anyone who really does his shapes
No.
like him. You know?
And there are courses on how to best learn from his books. That's
Yeah,
how next
yeah.
level his stuff he was putting out
And they're
was
just
back in the
sketches.
day.
They're
Yeah.
just sketches, but they're perfect. They're
But
perfect sketches.
the thing with his work was so much like looking at the body like a machine, right? And like
Mhm.
how everything functions. I remember he has that like the drawing like how the biceps like a pulley and like where it anchors and all of that. Like that stuff's really important for people to understand because, you know, a lot of drawing, especially when it comes to, you know, human anatomy, which arguably is one of the most complicated things you could ever master. You got to know these landmarks on the body. But you got to also know an arm when it's outstretched looks one way and then the muscle does that when you bend it, right? Like, because you'll
Yeah,
see people draw, they'll have the arm straight, but the bicep is peaked as if the dude was flexing it. And, you know, which, you know, you take your
that's a
liberties when
great
you're,
meme.
yeah,
Yeah,
you take your liberties when you're making it cool, you know, for the art. But yeah, arm doesn't work that way if you really want to
like once you
get down
learn how
to
to
it.
do it right, like once you learn how to do something right, and you see yourself do something the right way, even if it's not like the most beautifully rendered thing, is like, but you know you got it, you know?
Yeah.
So one of the things I learned was like the the length of the head, like from the top of the head to the chin is equal to the chin to like mid sternum, from mid sternum to like end of sternum to end of
Yeah.
sternum to like the head. You know, and you could take that same measurement all the way down to the toes, right?
Yeah.
And so once I learned that, it's you just know it now. You know, that's a
Yeah.
tool.
Yeah. And something that really helped me that could maybe help, you know, people listening is like draw the whole body. Because if you, oh, I'm just going to draw arms or I'm just drawing the torso and then, oh, I'm just drawing legs. When you start putting that all together into one figure, it can be all discombobulated because you don't
Yeah.
understand the how all those things relate to each other and the proportions and all of that can be off. You know, you're used to drawing a torso and then you put legs on there and the legs could be too short or too long or, you know. So
And
that's
that is also uh, uh, a strike against digital art. If your pad isn't big enough and you're zoomed into something and then you zoom out and now it's a different ratio, right? That
yep.
happens to me, or it used to happen to me a lot. I've learned to adjust, but you want to make sure that your ratios are correct, you know?
Yes.
And two, when drawing and this is something I want to do actually for Instagram posts or whatever, is how do you draw with intention? Like, how do you draw the body with intention? Like, start with the gesture. You gesture the whole body, right? Then you
Yeah.
learn what the structure is, whether you start with circles or squares and try whatever your go-to thing is, right? Learn the structure. And then you
Yes.
learn your anatomy. You know?
Yep. Yeah, the anatomy is kind of like the paint or the polish on top of the thing. Like if the machine underneath is broken, you could put all the polish on it you want, it ain't gonna
Yeah.
work.
It ain't gonna work. And then you learn your style, right? Then you put the
Yeah.
style on top of all that. And so to go back to styles, is styles I say is kind of the uh the wrapping of your fundamentals. You know,
Yes.
you gotta have the proper fundamentals, and then here's the wrapping or the final coat,
Yep.
right? But it has to be correct though.
And that's where, you know, amateur artists get excited and they want to jump to that finish look before they've figured all that out. Because, I mean, we talked about this on the podcast before that art is kind of like math, especially when you really get into it. It is a lot of math. There's a lot of how this point relates to this other point and the distance between and this ratio and that ratio. And it's
Yeah,
a lot of thinking to get that
especially
right.
with perspectives, like
Yes.
perspectives and buildings and designs and stuff. Like, I still want to get better at. I know how to do perspective 1, 2, 3, but once you start adding designs to your perspectives,
Yeah.
maintaining that stuff. And there's a comic book artist right now, Danny Earls, I think. Dan
Yeah, he's
Earls.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah, he's supposed to be coming on here. He's just so busy. Like
Oh, wow.
he's committed to coming on more than one time. He's like, "Hey, I haven't forgotten, but I'm just hitting all these deadlines." Like he's blowing up right now. But yeah,
Dude,
his
in
architecture and his
Marcus.
perspective, it's
He's so
insane.
technically amazing. But I remember him maybe a month or two ago, he posted a behind the scenes, and I'm left a comment. I was like, it's just math, really. It's
Yeah.
just physics at this
It
point.
looked
So
like
I,
a it
I
looked
do
like
want
a
to get better
bloop
at that.
it looked like a blueprint or like like a architecture drawing. And he had
Mhm. I think he
that
was
Gotham.
originally an architecture artist.
Did you see that I'm sure you saw that Gotham like big
Four
spread
page
he did.
spread
And then when
in black and white too.
he posted like some of the process shots of that, and it was just lines and like all the math, like everything perspective all figured out.
So good. So good, man. I want to get better at that, but he seemed like I think he was like an actual architect person.
It looks like it.
Because you
It
don't just
looks like
know
he
that
was.
hobbyist style. Like that is high level stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's his superpower. I think when it comes to his art, it's like he does
And then there'll be like
backgrounds
a
and
tiny little
stuff.
Batman or a tiny little
Yeah.
Superman, and they're like, "Oh, Batman!" But look at this. Look at Gotham. He turns
Yeah.
Gotham into a character. It's so good.
Yeah. So we've talked about a few artists that inspire you and you kind of were looking at when you were younger. You mentioned McFarlane and all of that. Like fast forwarding to now we just mentioned Danny, like who are some artists currently out there that you just look at their stuff it's motivation for days?
Jorge Jimenez.
Oh yeah.
Jorge Jimenez. I think right now. I think him and what's his
Dan Mora.
name? Damn, those two guys right now.
I pulled it from your brain.
You know exactly what I was talking about. Those two
Yeah.
guys right now. I look at them with Jorge. What was good about him is because he I felt like he had a similar DNA than I did with this combo comics anime type thing, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
he
it
had this
really
very
comes across.
cartoony, yeah, it had this really cartoony style, but the way he rendered, I was like, how is he doing this? How is he getting this kind of like weird detail in these renders and shadows digitally, right? And then
Yes.
I used my Sharingan and I learned how he did it. But then I realized I was like, but that's how he draws, you know?
Yeah.
I can pull from him certain things, but I'm like, but that's how he does eyes. That's not how I do eyes. That's how he does noses. That I'm not, you know what I mean? So,
Yes.
but I had to go down that rabbit hole of how does he do that? Right. Same thing with Dan Moore. Dan Moore,
Yep.
these guys, what good about these guys is that they're able to make complex things look complex.
Yes.
Right? They're able to add detail just in the right places, but they're on monthly books. I think they're doing like multiple monthly. Like these
Bro,
guys are machines, bro.
monthly and like every book you see from DC has a Dan Mora cover on it.
He's going off the. I don't know how he's doing what he's
Yeah.
doing,
Now,
but
both of
I
them
hope he's
are
getting paid.
yeah, I hope so. They should be. Yeah, both of them
He
are
should be.
100% digital, 100%
I
digital
think.
workflow.
I think more. I don't think on his monthlies, but I think Mora does a lot of stuff
They both
on
do
analog.
they both do some analog, but for the most part, like for their
It's word
regular
mode.
work, they're like yeah. And I think that's part of like why they're able to produce so much is just because if you set up your workflow the right way with digital, you really can streamline a lot of things. You still are putting in the hours though. There's only
Oh
so
yeah.
many shortcuts, right?
It's true. Especially when they're like, "Oh, look at what you can do. You can do more now," you know?
Yeah.
But no, those two guys, I look at them and I go, "Wow, I think I can do that. I think I can get to the point of being able to do that." Uh, hopefully. I think with
Yeah.
this next book that I'm doing, that I'm actually gonna start this Friday. Uh, it's gonna be me practicing that rhythm. Can I do a monthly book? I might not be able to do a monthly book. You know,
Yeah.
that's possible. I know I could produce pages though. So we'll see what happens with this next thing. Um, but I look at those guys. I look at Pepe Larraz. I think that's
Oh
how you
yeah.
say it.
Another amazing artist.
I gave up trying to do his style. His style is
Yeah.
wholly unique to who he is. I
There's
gave up
some
trying to.
there's some scenes in that new Amazing Spider-Man he's doing that there's some panels that are insane, like with the rhinos running at Spider-Man and stuff. You just look at it, it's like you sit there for an hour and just still
He
find detail and everything else.
he's done some amazing panels for like X-Men and like I think didn't he do some panels for Civil War 2, I
I
think.
believe so, yeah.
I mean, gorgeous stuff, man. Gorgeous stuff. I gave up trying to figure his out. I'm done. Uh, because he does digital too, and
Yes,
his digitals look like natural
they do.
inks.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of times if you zoom in, a lot of his stuff is just pencil, like a digital pencil, but it's pencil, and he goes in really tight, and then they're just coloring over the pencils. So I was zoomed in on my iPad on his stuff on that new Spider-Man, and it majority of it looks like pencil texture and everything,
Yeah,
but it's
and that's
phenomenal.
when you're an artist too. I'm like, how's my digital pen gonna make the texture I need it to make? And no one's noticing that, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? But I feel it. I need to know what it is.
yeah.
Who else? There's a guy, I don't know how to say his name. I'm gonna say his name wrong, but I think it's like Dike or DK Ruan or something
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I've
You
heard
know,
of him. Yeah,
his stuff is great. His stuff, his black and whites are so good. They don't need color. Every time they
yeah.
color his stuff, I go, it's not ruined, but it takes away from the black and whites.
It
His
does.
black and whites
Yeah.
are fantastic.
Well, since we've kind of kept bouncing back to the digital topic, as we wrap up here, I got one more thing I want to pick your brain on, and I know everybody always wants to know the tools that the artists use and everything. So, for your digital work, what are you working on these days? What kind of device are you using, and what apps or programs do you use?
And I'm using an old Wacom mobile studio thing. It's like I think it's 16 inches, and I use Clip Studio.
Nice.
I use Clip Studio. I use Blender if I need 3D stuff, or
Yep.
I'm trying to do some storyboard stuff. That's a whole other way of thinking, which
Yeah.
I still need to figure that out. I'm still figuring that out, but I played with it before. But yeah, I'm 95% Clip Studio. I used to love Photoshop, and then Adobe got weird, and I said I'm
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
It got bloated. You know, I'm trying to draw on it. It's laggy. I'm like, dude, I don't need this, and I'm paying all this
Yeah.
money for a laggy, bloated program. So I switched over to Clip Studio. I've been there ever since.
Yeah, Clip Studio is definitely the best program I've used for inking. Like for inking and for it feeling like, or feeling and looking like actual
Holding.
inks, traditional inks. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I use a combination of Clip Studio and Procreate on my iPad.
I want to try Procreate. I haven't tried it yet. I need to get an
Yeah,
iPad. But even then, even then, I'm all Clip Studio now. And even in Clip Studio, I'm still trying to get
yeah,
I have like 10,000 brushes. I did find though on the Clip Studio library, I guess,
yeah.
um, they have someone put up. They tried to make the Sakuga pens, the Sakura pens, those,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the ones, the tan ones that everyone uses.
yep,
Man, I said, this is it. I
yeah.
found my pens, and I
I
feel
got
so good using them.
I got some crazy
Um,
like realistic Copic marker
Cool.
brushes and stuff for
Yeah.
clip and the palettes too. And it
Yeah.
looks just like the real thing. And it's like, man, people are talented coming up with all this stuff
I
and
know. I know.
translating it into the digital realm.
And then what's the brush name? It's something Japanese. You know what it
Yeah.
is, but you love
Yeah.
it.
I'll have to DM you. I got some little insider pro information on what certain artist uses, which three inking brushes he uses in Clip Studio. That essentially everybody thinks he's working traditionally, and he's actually inking digitally in Clip, and that's the three brushes he uses. So I got some. Yeah, Joshua
When
Dursine
that.
gave me some pro tip. He's like, "Hey, here's what so and so uses." I'm like, "Oh, sweet."
Okay. So yeah, raw.
Yeah. I'm like, "Okay, here we go. We're learning what the pros are using."
All right, there you go. I'm looking forward to that now. But yeah, yeah. I have too many brushes. My brushes, I have more brushes than Pinterest pins.
Yeah. Well, listen, brother, we survived it. We got through the technical difficulties.
Yeah, we
We
did.
You didn't have too many, coughing attacks or anything.
No,
You're
I didn't
looking
get this.
good.
Watch when I leave though. I'm gonna lose it.
You're keeping it together. Well, listen, I would love to have you on here again. Um,
Jordan.
I got a little segment I'm gonna start doing. I've already got one guy lined up for it. We're gonna call it Process Junkies, and it's gonna
Sweet.
be where I have an artist on here and they're showing kind of how they work, whether we do screen share or you have another camera set up, if we can get around the technical limitations. But I'd love to have you
Yeah.
on for that sometime. Let people see, kind of how you work, how you break things down.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. Because tomorrow I scheduled to do my first live stream where I'm
Sweet.
be drawing the new cover that I was just telling you about. We're sketching it out before I print it.
Nice.
So I'm getting into the building that muscle, you know?
I
But
need
yeah,
to,
dude, thank you.
I'm going to have to tune in for that one.
Yeah, definitely. I'm only gonna be on for an hour though with that because the Knicks are playing. I gotta make sure
Oh,
that
there
they
you
beat
go.
the Mhm.
Nice. Well, listen,
Yeah,
man, I want to give you the spotlight here at the end and let everybody know where they can find you and to be on the lookout for that Kickstarter and everything.
for sure. Yeah, you could follow me at Edward Art or Edward Lilley underscore art on Instagram. It's the same thing for YouTube. And then I still have my old handle on X. It's called edart76. And I'll make
Awesome.
sure to send you all these links if you want to post them. And
Yep.
yeah, look forward to the Desert King coming this summer, hardcover, Kickstarter. Let's go. Doing new art, getting ready to put that out, and then there may be a couple new things later on in the horizon this year. So
Awesome, man. Well, I'm looking forward to watching it and going along for the ride. Thank you for being on today. Everybody
yeah,
who's
dude.
listening, uh, you are listening, so that means you found the podcast, whether that be on YouTube or your favorite audio podcast platform. I would ask that you just shoot us a like, a subscribe, share with a friend if you're enjoying all the awesome artists we're having on and everything. There's many more lined up for the future. Lots of creators, lots of super talented people, fun people, good people, people I enjoy chatting with. Way more to
Yeah,
come, so make sure.
I just
Yeah, just you. Just I was actually only talking
that's
about
you
Ed.
describing all of my great qualities. Thank you for that.
Awesome, everybody. Well, listen, keep it nerdy.
Keep it nerdy.